Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of EduTalks by AB. And today we have Dr. Pankaj Mittal with us, who's the Secretary General at the Association of Indian Universities and a leading voice when it comes to India's higher education landscape. Welcome, Dr. Pankaj, to EduTalks by AB.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thanks for having me here.
Great. So we will just set the context right first in terms of the evolutionary role that AIU plays when it comes to India's higher education ecosystem. Especially post NEP 2020, how do you think the role of AIU has evolved when we look at the entirely changing higher education landscape in India? Now that we have IBCs, we have private universities, the universities of repute, and so many other contributors.
So AIU is the largest university network in the world. We have around 1,200 universities, including around 20 foreign universities and some autonomous colleges as our members. So as you see that this is a large network, so we have a great convening power with us. Universities do listen to us. And when it comes to NEP, we do a lot of work towards implementation of NEP. So we work as a facilitator for universities. We work like a voice between the government and the universities, as a bridge between the government and the universities. So, for example, when this NEP came, we devoted one full year on the implementation of NEP in terms of first creating awareness among vice chancellors. Like every year we have 6 vice chancellors conferences, 5 zonal and 1 national vice chancellor conference, in about 400 vice chancellors participate. So we took NEP as a theme in all these conferences and first created awareness about it, because NEP can be implemented only when it is understood. So understanding NEP is very, very important. So first thing we did was making people understand NEP, various recommendations of NEP. Some of the recommendations are such that, like, how to label a university as a research university, teaching university, that is not understood. ABC, which is a very, very important concept of national education policy, that is mostly misunderstood. So we created awareness and tried to make universities, faculty, vice chancellors aware of what NEP is and what steps the universities have to take in implementing NEP. Similarly, when you're talking of internationalization, IBCs, to promote internationalization of higher education, you would be knowing that India is having something like only 48, 49,000 international students, whereas 10 to 12 lakh students go out of India every year. And these students are spending, the type of spending they are doing in terms of living expenses and the fee in the foreign countries is almost equal to the entire education budget of India. So to stop this, national education policy has given a lot of impetus to internationalization of higher education. And as a association which is working for implementation of NEP and for the good of the higher education ecosystem of the country, we established a network called Indian Network for Internationalization of Higher Education. The purpose of this network was to promote internationalization in university campuses, especially for the Tier 2 and Tier 3 universities. Why? Because India, as you know, is a large country. We have many universities and some, very few, are very good in internationalization, but majority, they intend to do internationalization, they want to do internationalization, they want to do partnerships, but they don't know how to do it, whom to approach, how to find a partner, how to enter into a partnership agreement, and how to sustain that partnership agreement. So we at AIU are doing this work of hand-holding the universities, helping them out, training the directors of international offices, even how to, like, for example, UGC is that every university should be having an international students office. But what should be the size of the office? What should be the structure of the office? What type of work they should be doing? How they should be doing it? That has yet to be told. So that is where the AIU steps in. So we tell the universities, we train the directors on what type of international students offices you should be having and what type of work they should be doing, and what should be the proper structure of these offices. So like this, we are doing many, many activities which are there to promote government policies as well as implementing national education policy.
Great. Thank you, ma'am, for explaining that so thoroughly and very suitable for everybody across the higher education system. For myself, working almost 10 years in the higher education system, it feels that now we are emerging, wherein our struggle when we are looking at twinning programs and stuff have become a lot lesser than what it
Mm.
was around, say, 5 6 years from now. So definitely a very commendable job on that,
Thank you.
and thank you for it. Moving on to a little more towards how Indian universities are looking at global research collaborations now that we have Gyan and other initiatives that is there, which kind of looks at a lot of research collaboratory areas. How would you rank Indian universities when it comes to knowledge diplomacy, considering a lot of foreign universities visit India every year and have these conversations? So, how would you place Indian universities in that knowledge diplomacy context?
So, with the changing in the geopolitical situation, India has suddenly become a big marketplace. Now you see that many foreign universities, especially from UK, Australia, they are coming to India and they are wanting to have partnership with Indian universities. But till now, most of the partnerships by way of say dual degree or joint degrees or say student exchange is one way. One way means that the students from India are going to those universities, but their students are not coming to India. So we are emphasizing on equal partnerships. Like if our students are going there, their students should also come here. It's not that only one way our students will be going and then they will be studying there, but then their students don't find it worth coming to India. So one thing is we are working on equal partnership. Then research partnerships, universities are very much looking forward to it. They want research partnerships, but again, the lack of know-how on the part of the universities and the lack of even many international ways of working, like how to make the MOUs, how to sustain a partnership, what type of curriculum changes would be required, what type of research will be there, and above all, a very big issue with India is the funding, because every partnership demands money. So if you have to travel to a foreign country, you need money. You cannot be telling the foreign country that, okay, you pay for us also and for yourself also. So funding is a very big issue. But then, of course, there are many schemes of the government of India, like Spark is there, Gyan is there, where they are facilitating joint research projects also, and the faculty also, like foreign faculty coming to India. So we again at our part we have come out with a scheme called we call it this is a MOU with Edifi Online, which is a US based company, in which we can get foreign faculty for our universities at a lesser cost. Lesser cost means these faculty right now whom we are engaging are online faculties, and of course online faculty also has a lot of cost associated with it. So what we have done is that we have made the clusters of the universities, means like if say 5 universities are teaching the same program, and in the online program all the 5 universities can combine together, and then that faculty can teach the students of all the 5 universities, and the cost then reduces to 20%. So university cluster based approach we are adopting, in which we are inviting the foreign faculty to teach our universities based on this cluster model, so that the cost is reduced, at the same time they get good quality education from the foreign faculty. So that is something which we are doing. But of course research partnerships, there's a lot of gap in the facilities which are available in India and the foreign universities, especially in bigger universities, and in countries like China the facilities are very big, in USA facilities are very good. So the research partnerships, sometimes it happens that our resources are good, our human resources are good, but facilities are not good. So partnership has to look into that, that both are win-win situation for both the universities. It cannot be that we are always on the receiving end or they are at the receiving end. It has to be equal partnership, whether it is research, joint degree programs, dual degree programs, training programs, student exchange, teacher exchange, semester exchange, curriculum exchange, whatever. It has to be an equal partnership. So that is what we are emphasizing on.
Great. Thank you, ma'am, for that. When we speak about our continuous journey, we definitely hear about Viksit Bharat by 2047, part of it. How do you envision the role of Indian higher education institutions changing when we are moving towards realizing the goals of Viksit Bharat?
See, I will explain it with an example like SDGs. So when we talk of realizing SDGs, and when we saw the data on where India stands on SDGs, it was right now at something like 120th position. So then again, 1 year at AIU, we devoted on role of universities in realizing SDGs. That how can universities contribute in realizing SDGs? And then in whole year, in 6 conferences we discussed, then we came out with a very good report. For every SDG, we have given that what role universities can play and government can play and regulatory bodies can play. And it is on our website. So then we realized that SDG goals cannot be realized fully without the intervention of the universities or without the participation of the universities. For example, universities can do first to create awareness about SDGs. Second is to implement SDGs in their own universities, like whether it is clean energy or environment or anything. Third, doing a lot of research on SDGs. Fourth, doing a lot of say curriculum interventions to promote SDGs. Similarly, a lot of impact studies can be done on various programs which are being run by the government on SDGs. So like this, universities can contribute a lot. In the same vein, for Viksit Bharat, we cannot think of Viksit Bharat without the participation of the universities. In our universities and colleges, we have something like 4.5 crore students. In our school sector, we have something like 27, 28 crore students. So overall, it is around 33 crore students who are there in the universities, colleges, standalone institutions, and the schools. So 33 crore means about 1/4 or 1/5 of the India's population. And then if you multiply it by 4, which is the family of each student which is in the university or the school or the college, it makes whole of India. So it is completely out of question to think of a Viksit Bharat without the participation of the students. The students have a big role. Universities have a still larger role, because at that time the university, when the student reaches a university, is in a position to contribute a lot to the nation. So we cannot think of Viksit Bharat without the participation of universities. I mean, whether it is in terms of curriculum or research or attitude of the students or the character building of the students, everywhere university's role is primary.
Right. Thank you, ma'am, for explaining that. And in fact, like students really feel that all of this journey of their education also moves towards employment side of it. So coming to public statement, which the Vice Chancellor of Delhi University, Professor Yogesh Singh, mentioned that almost 70% of the eligible students are continuing with fourth year, which has now been an inclusion in the public university domain. How do you think this integrates with the exposure in terms of internships or skill development or real life on the job for employability skill? Any good practices that you think any university is doing in India at this point of time, which you may want to share, which actually addresses this skill gap of what you're studying in a classroom vis-a-vis what is required in an industry?
So again, if we go back to national education policy, it mentions that the skilling portion means the skilled population in India is way below the number in most of the developed countries. So we are not skilling our population, we are only giving them education. And that translates into unemployability, because the students do have degrees, but they do not have skills to work in the universities and colleges. They don't have skills to work in the companies or industry wherever they are employed. So to address this, the national education policy spoke about the skilling of the population, and that is where the 4-year degree program came in. That in 3 years we are not able to have enough time with the student to skill them enough to get a job. So fourth year adding was sort of a finishing school if a student wants to go for job, and sort of a research program for the students who want to go for research, so that in 4 years program the university has enough time to equip the students with the life skills and the employability skills. And again, for researchers, you know that from graduation they can straight away go to PhD if they have devoted the 4th year on research. So this employability issue is a very big issue, and this has to be addressed. And I think the students liked it 4th year. Many of them, some of them they didn't like it. They wanted to go out after 3rd year. But this is important, that if this fourth year is not used properly, then it will be a waste of time. So 4 year for the sake of having 4 year is not good. Fourth year has to be used very, very judiciously for giving the skilling component to the students. And then, as you know, that the government has laid so much of emphasis on skill. There is a separate ministry on skill. There is National Skill Development Corporation. There is National Skill Qualification Framework, and then there is an integration of National Higher Education Qualification Framework and National Skill Qualification Framework, because the government also wants that the skilling should not be taken as a low prestige job, less reputed jobs. Like, for example, if you ask me, I will say no, I don't want my son to be an electrician or a plumber or a means carpenter maybe. But then these are the skills which are required, everyday skills. And there can be plumbers or carpenters who are very good, but if they don't get any recognition or any certification, that creates a lot of issues. So now there is an integration, and now there is also a recognition of prior learning, we call it RPL, that if I am a, say, carpenter of a certain level, then my skills will be assessed and I will be given a certification that I am a carpenter of this level, and which will be equal to, say, graduation or post graduation or PhD also. So that qualification integration is there, and I think that will help a lot.
Right. So, a lot of young scholars and educators slowly want to contribute towards shaping the policy and governance in education. What pathway would you, as a leader when it comes to the Indian higher education system, kind of help them with when it comes to their contribution towards governance in education?
So our youth has a lot of energy. They are much aware than they were earlier, and they can really contribute. You must have seen how Sarthak is contributing in improving the CBSE functioning. He's just 17-year-old. In Niti Aayog, there are many young professionals who come for first for internship and then as young professional. And when I meet them, I'm really amazed at the level at which they are working, what their understanding is. They are seeing the world as a youngster and from outside, so their contribution is much bigger. For example, I have been working in UGC for 30 years, and we were making policies sitting in the air conditioned rooms. And when I became a vice chancellor, I had to implement those very policies in that university. Then I knew where the shoe pinches. So the people who are really in the on the ground, that they are able to understand what types of policies are required. So involvement of youngsters in policy making is very important. They understand what they need, and they are not you shouldn't say that they don't understand anything or they are brats or they don't do anything. They are really, really very intelligent. They understand, they can contribute, but we have to give importance to the youngsters. They are really, really good and they do contribute. I have myself seen their contribution in many Niti Aayog meetings. They are full of such young people, and they contribute to policy making, which was till now considered as a job for gray haired people, and they can only make policies, but these people can do and they must do.
Absolutely, ma'am. And it's so nice to hear about that integration that a lot of youth demographics kind of always envisage, that involving and integrating youth into the policy making will actually help in terms of our way ahead. Coming towards the end of our conversation, one question which kind of I'm sure a lot of people would be interested in. If Dr. Pankaj Mittal had to redesign one aspect of India's higher education system overnight, what would that be? It doesn't need to be logical. We need not discuss how it's going to be implemented, but one aspect that pinches you right from your journey from UGC to being a vice chancellor to managing so much expectations within the higher education fraternity at this point of time?
So there are many, but if you ask for one, it is the way we teach. The way we teach is very, very important. And right now, we are using mostly a lecture method, passing on the information, understanding the application part of it, understanding the nuances of it. That is something which the students do at their own level. So, therefore, we are all talking about flipped classroom model, which happens in most of the foreign universities. Where they give you, say, videos, text, written notes, or audios. You read it or see it at home, and then come to the in the university or the class, and then you understand, you reason out, you do a lot of discussions, group discussions, so understanding improves. So one major thing is the way we teach. Like in Hindi, if we say, no, in India, हम क्लास में पढ़ाते हैं, बच्चे घर पे जाके आत्मसात करते हैं, और बाहर के देशों में बच्चे घर से पढ़ के आते हैं और क्लास में आके आत्मसात करते हैं. So that is very important. So if we really, really want to change the education system, our teachers should be trained for this flipped classroom teaching, and the learning has to be application oriented, not theory based.
Great. Thank you so much, Pankaj ma'am, for that. And for the audience, if you have any questions that you would want me to pose to higher education experts, feel free to shoot them in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe to EduTalks by AB. And while me and Pankaj ma'am discuss a little more about the evolving pedagogy in India, feel free to stay tuned to EduTalks by AB.